Hi guys, I'm Sade and welcome to my channel. I have another video of the ABCs of fashion, and today we're going to be covering the letter C. We're going to be going over what couture is, what and who is a creative director. We're going to go over comme, garçons, or better known as CDG, and Chinatown market and its rebranding. But before we get into the video, do me a favor and hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. So first things first, couture. Before I did research, before I took like fashion classes, I thought couture was just something high fashion and luxury based, and I just thought it was on a higher scale of high fashion, where it's just like you had to be somebody to get a couture piece. After taking classes and doing research, which I'm going to share with you guys, I learned that it's basically a custom piece specifically made from Paris. So before I get into like really intricate details, I'm going to go over like the most basic of what couture is. So like even if you take your basic business class, they break this down as well. So what it is a custom piece, a make to order, made to order piece. So basically in terms of like fashion, you can go into Target, H&M, Urban Outfitters, and they're gonna have like 10 of the same shirt, versus with couture or custom or a made to order piece, you're gonna go specifically to that designer and see the sample piece that they have, and then you're gonna request that they make this specifically for you. So that at its most basic core is what couture is, a custom piece made to order upon your request. Now let's get into like more intricate details. Like I said, couture is something that is specifically from Paris, and just being a custom piece from Paris doesn't even qualify it to be couture. I'm gonna share some qualifications that needs to have been made for your piece to be a couture piece. So let's get into it. So off of like some of my research, I found a couple of different variations of the definition, so I'm gonna share both. So to become a couturier, one must be certified by the Chambre syndicale de la haute couture. And so the following rules are: the design is made to order for private clients with one or more fittings, have an atelier in Paris that employs at least 15 people full-time, and each season presents a collection comprised of at least 35 looks for both the day and night. And some certified couturiers include Chanel, Christian Dior, Givenchy, Jean-Paul Gaultier, and more. And then there are 4 correspondent members: Elie Saab, Giorgio Armani, Maison Margiela, and Valentino. So what does haute couture even mean? Haute couture is a French phrase for high fashion. Couture means dressmaking, sewing, or needlework, and haute means elegant or high. So a haute couture model garment is at the top level of hand customized fashion design and clothing construction made by a couture design house, meaning that this piece is made by hand. A model haute couture garment is made specifically for the wearer's measurements and body stance, so it's customized specifically to one person and one person only. And it's made to measure. Exclusive clothes are virtually made by hand. Like I said before, this piece is made by hand and it's not going to be just slapped together by a machine. So here's another definition of what haute couture is, and it also breaks down some like slightly differing qualifications. So like I said before, translated literally, couture is French for dressmaking, while haute means high. These are garments created as one-off pieces for a specific client. Englishman Charles Frederick Worth is considered as the father of haute couture, and today's members are selected by the Chambre syndicale de la haute couture. So these members must design made-to-order clothes for private clients with more than one fitting using an atelier, which is a workshop, by the way, that employs at least 15 full-time staff. And here's where the variation comes in. They must also have 20 full-time technical workers in one of their workshops, and they must present a collection of no less than 50 original designs, both day and evening garments, to the public every season. So that's where some of like the differences come in between the two definitions, but basically it has to be made by one of the certified couturiers, made to order to one person. The atelier has to have 15 full-time employees, and this couturier has to have a collection of at least 35 to 50 original pieces for night and day. So that is what couture is. Next is creative director. Who are they? What do they do? What is a creative director? So basically the creative director is foreseeing the entire collection, and they're figuring out what the theme is, what that message is that they want to push to the audience, to the buyers, to the wearers, to the models. They're also like the spokesperson. They're the face of what's going on here. So basically they may or may not be designing the thing, the clothes. 9 times out of 10 they probably aren't the actual designers. They're not going to be the people putting the garments together. They're just overseeing the collection and being the voice. So let's get into some definitions. Today, a creative director has to be someone who's not only good at creating collections and products. Creative director needs to be able to apply his vision to the tools with which the brand communicates with the world. So to expand on this definition a little bit more, I'm going to be giving you guys some key takeaways of what a creative director does and who they are. So a creative director, this role is evolving to include store strategies, social media and advertising campaigns, and global brand vision. Recruiters recommend vetting internal talent and looking outside of the fashion industry for fresh perspectives. And brands are now looking for candidates with staying power. So you see a lot of brands and companies getting creative directors that are models, that are maybe they're an art person, right? You could see, right, Kendall Jenner is a creative director. Maybe someone wants Takashi Murakami to be a creative director. It's not necessarily a designer. It doesn't have to be a designer. It's somebody who has a presence and who's well known to quite a bit of people, because sometimes not everybody knows the designer behind a brand, but they do know the celebrity, they do know this big name. A creative director that most people know who also happens to be a designer is Virgil Abloh. He has his own brand, his own company, Off-White, but he also was a creative director for Louis Vuitton. Rest in peace, Virgil. But I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's been rumors of Kanye West becoming the next creative director for Louis Vuitton. Share your opinions down below. Leave a comment what you think about that. In my personal opinion, I think it was very expected. I'm not surprised by that decision if it is true and if they do go through with it. However, I do wish they went outside of that space. I think Virgil and Kanye are very similar, and as anybody who loves Virgil, you guys know Virgil was about the youth and creating spaces for Black creators, minority creators, and really just bringing up the next generation. So I kind of wish that Louis Vuitton followed in Virgil's footsteps and went with somebody who's new and young on the scene and fresh and has great ideas and who's gonna grow into such a genius in their position and in their role and really make a difference. And I think that decision would have like really showed Virgil's impact on the fashion industry. Whereas like with going with Kanye, it's kind of like a safe decision, and I think it just comes off as trying to replicate, although they're two different people. I think it kind of just like, I'm trying to be a continuation of what Virgil brought to the company instead of just really solidifying Virgil's impact and going with his ideas and what he believed in and taking it one step further by trying to implement someone new and fresh on the scene. That's just my opinion. We'll see what happens. But yeah, if you have an opinion, comments, or anything, leave that down below and let me know what you guys think. So next, I got Comme des Garçons for you guys. It's a very iconic brand. Everybody knows them. Most people call them CDG. Very popular. There's even a song inspired by them called Like the Boys by Rina Sawayama. You guys will understand why a little bit later. But yeah, comme des Garçons, that's next. So let's get into some of the background and why the company is as big as it is. So comme des Garçons means like boys in French, and to some people's surprise, it's not a French company. It's actually a Japanese brand, and it's founded by Rei Kawakubo. Known for its avant-garde aesthetic and unconventional silhouettes, Kawakubo transformed the brand into a successful fashion label. CDG is headquartered in Tokyo's Aoyama district, and Comme des Garçons also includes many diffusion lines like Play, Noir, Home Plus Sport, Shirt, Tricot, and more. And later in 2004, CDG developed a market-based department store called Dover Street Market, which everybody also knows and is famous for. CDG, Rei Kawakubo, Dover Street Market, all under the same umbrella. And Dover Street Market houses some of these diffusion lines of CDG and a variety of other designers and labels. So who's the founder of Comme des Garçons? As I mentioned before, it was founded by a Japanese designer named Rei Kawakubo, who is a woman, by the way. Rei Kawakubo is the trailblazing founder and designer of Comme des Garçons and one of the most powerful women in fashion history. She was born in Tokyo in 1942, and Kawakubo studied fine arts and literature at Keio University before starting her career in advertising at a textiles company, and then later she freelanced as a stylist. So when did Comme des Garçons begin? Kawakubo started designing clothes under the brand name Comme des Garçons in 1969 before officially establishing the company in 1971. So before CDG was CDG, Kawakubo she went to school, she was working at an advertising company, and then she freelanced in styling, which segued herself into designing for this big, well-known brand we now have today. And just looking back at her journey, all of these things kind of set her up to CDG and brought us here. So when was Comme des Garçons' first fashion show? So Comme des Garçons' debut runway show took place at Paris Fashion Week in 1981, and Rei's first show wasn't well received. I think that's hard to believe now, but she's avant-garde and bringing something new to the scene, and obviously we love its freshness now. So I have a feeling she was kind of ahead of her time and wasn't really understood by many. In fact, critics went so far as to insult the Japanese designer's first collection because of its overuse of black, which is so crazy to me because I love black and I think a lot of black collections have a lot of power in them, but they didn't see it that way. So that is a little bit about Comme des Garçons. We know that it's a really famous brand, but I really wanted to share with you guys the person behind CDG because I feel like not a lot of people know that it's a Japanese brand, nor do they know that the founder is a woman. So yes, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. And of course it's popular because of how weird it is in a way. It's very different and I think a lot of people find comfort in how different it is because they can express themselves in many different ways, and it's acceptable because the brand is acceptable. Last but not least, we have Chinatown Market. I'm going to go over the founder, his inspiration to the brand, and how it became popular, and a little bit of controversy which led to its rebranding and the new name of Market. So first things first, Chinatown Market is founded by Mike Sherman, and basically he gets his inspiration from New York City, which is where he's from, tapping into the rebellious spirit of New York's Canal Street, a place where Sherman spent many afternoons with his dad as a kid. Think of it as taking the most in-demand references and viral moments in popular culture and mashing them together. So just a little bit on him. He dropped out of Parsons, which is a fashion school in New York. I mean, they have other majors, but it is a really famous fashion school in the entire world. And he landed a job at the Nike customization store. And then he got his start with a batch of bootleg shirts that he couldn't afford the stuff that he wanted to wear. So basically, he was a Parsons dropout, got a job at customization with Nike, and then started customizing his own stuff. And some of his items that he made included the "Fuck You, Fucking Fuck" and "Thank You, Have a Nice Day" shirts, and the now infamous Frank Ocean Nike Swoosh mashup t-shirt, which were all displayed in a booth during Complex Con. So specifically with the Frank Ocean Nike shirts, they made about $45,000 in online sales in less than 24 hours. Sherman didn't get to keep the money though, because he was sued by Frank Ocean for trademark infringement. However, he gained so much popularity and everybody loved him, and he made his mark. Sherman was motivated to find a way to keep doing everything that he was doing legally, and he was sold on the idea of a reactionary DIY culture. So this led him to his next phase, and what he did and what we know him for now, which included his bootleg versions of the Converses with the Nike swoosh, which were gifted to and worn by LeBron James before the NBA Finals, and later ended up on the feet of Nico and Erykah Badu. And Chinatown Market, for those of you that aren't that into fashion, they're the brand with the smiley face, and this iconic acid house smiley face is part of a licensing deal with the original London-based company Smiley World that's been putting a smile on the world for decades. It has resulted in smiley emblazoned tees, basketballs, and ping pong paddles. Sherman also forged working relationships with the likes of Nike, Converse, Vans, and Puma, just to name a few. So why is it so popular? Basically, the drive to be easily available for everybody sets the label apart from the exclusivity club of many other streetwear brands, and you can cop their stuff in major retailers like Urban Outfitters. In an ironic twist, perhaps, knockoff Chinatown Market gear has even surfaced in China. So that segues me into the controversy behind Chinatown Market. Why did they change their name to just Market? Let's get into that. So Chinatown Market, specifically its name, became a flashpoint in a larger discussion about streetwear, race, and cultural appropriation. Throughout 2020 and into this year, growing violence aimed toward the Asian American community put the brand's name in a markedly different lens, as insensitive or exploitative. Sherman was recast as a white man taking ownership of a space that was not his to claim. The brand's Instagram posts condemning Asian hate and announcing a fundraising t-shirt were deemed insufficient. An online petition to change the name quickly garnered the signatures of well-known fashion industry stalwarts like Kenzo and Opening Ceremony. So on March 29th, less than a month after the original petition was posted, Chinatown Market and Sherman posted an update to their respective Instagram feeds. The Asian American community is rightfully demanding all of us think and act more honestly. We should have done this sooner, but it is never too late to do the right thing. Today, we are announcing that we are changing our name, and they donated the proceeds from existing products and work to fund nonprofits working with the AAPI community. So that was a lot. So basically, he claimed something that wasn't his. Chinatown Market, he's a white man putting forth something that, right, Chinatown, those are actual physical places that predominantly are Chinese, that predominantly Chinese people make up, and he's claiming it as his own. He profited off of something that he's not a part of. The Asian community, rightfully so, demanded a change in the name. He's profiting off of something, off of a culture that he does not belong to, or so. I think that was the right choice to change the name, and now they are just Market. So it's, of course, you can look up Chinatown Market and still get results, but they are now officially just Market. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, hope to see you in the next video. And again, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.